I was going to go out, but the fights were on. John Jones, I know you don't really watch UFC regularly or much at all, but John Jones, I'm sure you are familiar with the name. And yeah, so John Jones was the light heavyweight champion for a long time. He had the longest. He was basically undefeated. He had one fight early on where he was just dominating this dude and had mounted him and was just fucking raining down elbows on his face. And then they disqualified him for like doing, like if you did straight up to down elbow, they call it a 12-6. And for some fucking reason, every other elbow is legal, and then if you do that one, they disqualify him. So that wasn't.
Yeah, sometimes I like the rules of that stuff are kind of funny to a person who doesn't pay a lot of attention to it. I'll see stuff like that, and I'm like, so you're telling me he tried to injure the man and now he's in trouble? Because like the rest of this was just a brutal assault, you know? Like what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. So nobody ever considered that like really a loss on his record, but it was.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
so stuff from the early days that's fucking crazy when they had like no rules.
Oh yeah.
And some of those other leagues or whatever they were and shit.
Yeah, Pride. Like, you could just soccer kick a dude in the face while he was on the ground and shit. They would do it regularly.
Right.
Yeah, I remember one in the second UFC ever back in the early mid 90s. There was a dude named what the fuck is his name? Keith Hackney, who was actually from around here. My buddies trained with him, and he was one of like the first UFC fighters. And he, what?
I think, I've been thinking that a lot lately. I saw my Uber driver yesterday. It said Marissa speaks English and Spanish, and I was standing in the store and I went, ooh, just by myself. It's all stoned and I forgot where I was. Anyways, go ahead.
But yeah, I remember that one. Keith Hackney fought this dude named Chemo. Or no, Joe San, who was this dude Chemo's trainer. Anyways, this dude, first of all, Joe San fucking came out carrying a full cross on his back because he's so Christian. And he's like this 5'6" Korean dude that weighs like 240 pounds. But either way, this was like a 7-foot cross made out of like basically what looked like railroad ties. And he carried it all the way there. Now, that's not a good idea when you now have to fight a man that's going to try and knock you the fuck out.
You may not want to tucker yourself out on the way
don't blow your wad on the way to the ring, you fucking idiot.
Also, do Christians not have a thing with like impersonating Christ? Is that not a taboo?
I mean, I'm sure it is. But yeah, so then Keith Hackney was a White Tiger Kempo guy, which my buddy Chuck, actually JT in here, took White Tiger Kempo for a lot of years. And a handful of other guys I know. So everyone was like, holy shit, that's awesome. But anyways, he gets on top. He ends up on top. And this is before like grapplers had really taken over. So nobody really knew what the fuck they were doing on the ground except the jiu-jitsu guys and the wrestlers. Anyways, he's on top. And he's holding him down, and he feels down with his right hand and feels his balls and just goes, oh, there they are. And he just starts uppercutting this dude full force in the sack like fucking 12 times. Yeah, dude. Like over and over. Yeah, it was legal at the time. You could just do that.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
and
dude, I guess like...
The guy just passed out. Like he just...
Well, yeah.
He just went out. That's
the best case scenario. Like,
dude, how about this? That dude Joe San is now in prison for life because DNA evidence, like DNA testing, became better, and then he was implicated in a gang rape years before.
Yeah.
And so then he goes to prison, and then he fucking promptly murders his cellmate.
Yeah,
he was a fucking killer, man. Like literally a killer.
Always, like I've said before, always a surprise when the when the professional batterers are violent in their personal lives.
Yeah. Actually, this dude John Jones has like fucking been in constant trouble. Fucking he fucking smashed into his car into some pregnant lady and just ran away when he was all hammered. Like ran into a car that was like hurt a woman who's like he got busted with coke a bunch of times. He got fucking all kinds of shit. He's just been in trouble. But anyways, he comes back. He was off for 3 years. Puts on like fucking 60 pounds, and then comes back to fight the fucking heavyweight champ after 3 years off. And This dude, Cyril Gahn, is like a natural 260. He's a giant motherfucker from France that moves like a lightweight. It's insane. He's this kickboxer or whatever. Dude, fucking John Jones, after 3 years off, comes in there and fucking guillotine chokes this motherfucker unconscious in like a minute and a half. It was insane. Like, he's the best.
Thrilling.
Yeah, he's the best that's ever fucking done the sport, for sure.
I remember when I very first heard of the UFC, I was working, we were doing a gig at like some place that had 1 million giant TVs. It was like right when flat screens became affordable to businesses or something, you know? And, I'm like, I heard about this, and I expected it to be like crazy karate guys and all kinds of wild stuff going on. And then, like, dude, we watched it all night, and it was, you'll know what era it was if I say this, but it was like, it was all just, grappling and shit on the floor. And so, like, the entire, like, everybody's all watching this, and I'm like, this is, like, just two guys humping in their underwear.
That's what
like,
everybody
all fucking day.
So everybody always said.
Having never really seen any actual fighting other than boxing, you know, I was like, I was looking at this, and I was just like, this can't be what it is, dude. And I think over the years, they must have learned that, like, here's what's going to sell is, like, striking sells, I think.
Well, no, what it is over the years, okay, first of all, Andrea says, I used to have the first 10 on DVD, and there were no rounds, no time limits, and there were no MMA fighters. They would just match a boxer with a wrestler and let them go. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Is because you would literally
wouldn't they do like a sumo wrestler versus like a whatever
versus a karate guy and like a fucking kung fu dude versus a boxer and all that shit.
And sometimes it would just be like, here's a crazy hillbilly, like,
like some dude that just fucking knocks people out in bars and shit.
Right. Actually, that one dude, Tank Abbott,
that,
wasn't it?
Yeah. But that's what happened is so then eventually the grapplers realized that fucking or everyone just started realizing, the grapplers can just drag you down to the ground and smother you for the whole time. And then if they can do it, they'll just start pounding on you and knock you out. So then basically everyone had to start training grappling. So then over the years, everyone just gets better and better. And then the people that are coming into it as young people have now been training grappling and striking equally the whole time. So
eventually kind of evened out.
Exactly. So now it's like there's a few specialists that are really just like nobody can deal with their grappling. But for the most part, if you take somebody down, they know what they're doing too. So they can get back up and start striking. So it's like it just became a different sport kind of. But there was a huge time when it was just like if there was a wrestler in there, he would just wrestle fuck them for the whole time. And it was horrible.
What a wild thing! Like what it says about our society that like that took off that much. Another weird thing I'm thinking about, like one of the first ones I saw, whatever. Because we've all seen boxing matches forever where they fucking shake hands at the end and they're like buddies and they're like, hey, and that like you could process that of like, okay, it's pugilism, it's
the sweet science.
Right, and you could picture them like shaking hands and being friends afterwards. But then when I saw like the UFC, I'm like, the way these guys fucking hurt each other, and then afterwards they're like, he's a great guy.
Yeah, you know? Like,
it's such a fucking weird world. Yeah, like what? How did you? Because like for me, again, like I think once in a while when I'm fucking blackout wasted that it's time to become a fighter all of a sudden. But for the most part, not really wanting to like fight all the fucking time. It just looks insane, You're like, these guys, like, to them, that's just the job. That's like, oh, yeah, remember when you were fucking elbowing me in the fucking bridge of my nose? Like, yeah, that was cool. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I would have to be fucking furious to do any of this to anyone,
Yeah, the funny thing is when I used to train, half the fucking time, dude, you hurt yourself. Like you're throwing a kick and the guy's arm comes up and you kick him right on the fucking point of the elbow with your with like those small bones just behind your toes and you break like 3 fucking bones in your foot and it swells up like a football for a month and you're like, God damn it, man. And that happens fucking so much, dude. You break your hand or you break your fucking foot or you fucking hyperextend your knee. Like all that shit. Like most of these guys, their injuries are from training. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's fucked up.
No, you got to be. I mean, that's such a wild world, dude. You have to be.
There's always
a certain type of person that is willing to do that for any amount of money.
Yeah.
It's like,
although I wish this would have been a thing when I was like 18. I wish I would have existed in this because I would have definitely tried it. But that's all I wanted to do when I was like 18, 19, 20. That's all I fucking did and wanted to do at the time. I know nobody could tell that by me now.
When I was like 18, 19, I was just doing acid, and I would have said something like, so like, you make your fist into a weapon to hurt, to injure the other person's brain
Another
to the point that they lose their equilibrium. Like, that's what you think is, that's what I would have thought. Like, how animalistic and unsophisticated and just appalling.
The funny thing is I was on acid all the time then too, but it was just like we were just fucking. I remember my buddy Sean, who was a Golden Gloves boxer and was just a very angry youth. I remember we were all fucking on either shrooms or acid, but we were like back by Salt Creek in these woods and shit. And all of a sudden we start hearing something and we go over. We're all like, oh, what's going on over here? We run over there and fucking Sean is starting shit with a goose. But he's like screaming at it in goose, just tripping balls. And just like, just like screaming. The goose is honking back at him with his wings up and shit. And we're like, what the fuck is going on here, dude? We're like,
the gooses are so easily flappable.
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended. But yeah, you can get them going.
Oh, yeah. They're